Hi everybody, it's Tommy Jo from Bird Street Studio. I thought I would turn on the camera this evening and kind of show you some things that I'm working on, some ideas. I was watching streams today and watching some YouTube videos on Inktober, trying to make a decision whether I want to move forward with Inktober myself. I did 100 days of art 1 year, and it was very time consuming for me, so I'm not really sure what I'm going to do. But in the meantime, as I was watching videos, I was making some ephemera. I'm working on a journal. Let's show you. I'm working on this pink covered journal. It's got all pages that have predominantly pink in them, and I needed some more ephemera, and I got thinking, so many people make ephemera ahead of time, and that's not what I usually do. So to make a journal for me takes a long time. So I thought I would make some ephemera ahead of time, and I thought of these cards here. You see, if I make them neutral, then I can just add a focal point and they'll go in any journal. So to do that, I got the idea because in my journal, I usually do, I find one that I've got done. I usually do a page like this where it's got pieces of paper collaged around the outside, and I really like that effect, and hence I use that in most of my journals. And so I got that idea that if I kept the papers neutral, then I could use them in any journals. So I wanted to kind of show you my process. So these are the finished ones, and when I create a journal, I keep off to the side here, I keep glue pages where I use these when I'm gluing something, and when I'm done, when they get really sticky, I just fold them in half and put them like this and make belly bands out of them or whatever. And in this case, I make cards, journal cards. So that's what these are. Only what I've done is I've ripped them in half because I'm going to back them as well. And with the collage and the sheet and the backing, they're certainly firm enough to make a journal card. So I didn't need to keep them folded together. So I'm going to move these aside and show you what I've done. So I think you can see I have little piles of papers here that are fairly neutral, that I've already inked, and I'm just going to show you quickly how I get those, where they come from. So I've got some old book pages, some old books. So I usually take out like a book page, which I have a couple of book pages right here, pieces and that we're going to use. I also have old music sheets that came out of like church books, and some are Christmassy, some are very religious. So I do use these, okay? But I'll show you what I do with them. The other thing that I use is when I have a page like this, okay, like a book page that I'm gluing, when it's all done, I will take off all of these edges, and I use those. And that's what these are right here. These are the book pages, and these are the music pieces. Okay. And then in this case, I had a piece of digital that was like lace, and I took my distress ink, okay, I just took my distress ink and just added distress ink all over it. So instead of it kind of printed out a gray that I didn't think I would use. Instead of remaining gray, I added some distress ink and made it kind of antique-y. And that's where these come from right here, these papers. And how I did that was I just kind of took my ruler this way, and I tore a strip. Well, you tear it all the way down, and then I just made them different sizes. So I would tear this, and maybe I would leave it like this and just, you want different sizes to collage, and we can make them smaller, but once you tear them, you can't make them any bigger. And so then I would just add that to that pile, and maybe this one, I'll go ahead and tear right there. And add to that pile. Sometimes you do need to fill in spaces, so these small ones are good to have. And maybe what I'll do is go ahead and tear this piece right here off and add that as a small piece as well. Okay. The music page, what I do is I just try to tear the words off. I don't want any of the words in here if they are of a particular religion. I don't, you know, I feel like I can use the music itself for anybody. So I just tend to take those off and just cut out the staff of music. Okay. And like I do this, I rip these up like when I'm watching videos or whatever. Okay. And then I would go ahead and maybe tear this into, say, thirds or something. And then you ink that up. Remember, we're looking for all kind of neutral pieces. So they can go in any color or any themed journal at all. This is just the background. And you can, in this case, I'm making journal cards out of these sheets. But you can do this on full-size sheets of maybe paper that you don't like or whatever. Okay, so that's the music sheets. And then the regular paper, I look for like about an inch or so, something like that. This piece is a good piece for the plain, like these. So I'm going to go ahead and take that off. Maybe I will do a couple like this. This is just to show you how I come up with the piles of papers that I use. And certainly you just want to, if whatever book page you use, you just want to look through it and make sure that it's not anything that's offensive. In this case, these books are old philosophy books. So it may talk about religion, but it doesn't give opinions, or it's not specific of a religion or a, you know, gender or a race or anything like that. So I don't feel that it's offensive to anybody in any way. One of them actually is an old student textbook, I think from 1890 something. I don't know. So probably like a college book. But that's how I get the book pages. And then this would be just a plain sheet. Maybe I'll rip that in half. And then like this book page here, I would probably go ahead and take this off. Phew, excuse me. And this bottom part as well. You could use your ruler too, but these pages are so old, I'm afraid that if I use the ruler, I might end up really ruining the paper. And I'm going to go ahead and take this whole top, even though it has wording on it. Okay. And we'll take this side. Okay, then this I would just use as a book page. So I would go ahead and rip this. And you can actually, if you wanted to, you could just leave them full sheets and just rip off pieces and have kind of big chunks of collage. But I kind of liked, I started earlier doing some tags and that were strips, and I really liked it. So I'm going to go ahead and just put these aside, because now you know that that's how I got the book pages, and that this is how I got the plain pages. And we're going to go ahead and start gluing some on, and I'll show you how I do that. So I just take one of these, and I just start gluing, really. I use my glue stick, my Uhu glue stick, which is close to the end, so I may have to get another one. And I will start with, say, a book page. So I hope I'm in camera here. So I'm just going to glue it down. They can go sideways, they can go up and down, they can go however you want to collage them on. So I'm going to stand up real quick just to make sure that you can see all my piles. And I think you can. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and fast forward through placing these on here. Okay, so as you see, these are done. This one is done anyways. Let's see. I got a couple of spots that stuck to my paper, so I wanted to show you, you know, there's one. I'm going to do one more, and we'll fast forward through that as well. And then once I have both of these done, I will show you how I complete it. So. Okay, so now we have 2 cards done, and at this point I'm just going to move all of these off to the side a little bit because I need to bring my cutter up here to trim them off, and I'll finish with these later. But all I'm going to do now is just try to even up these edges. I could probably just do that with scissors, but I would feel better doing it this way. And these can end up any size. They don't have to be a specific size. They're just journal cards. So the only thing that you want to do is make sure that they're going to fit in a journal. My journals are normally 8.5 by 11 inch paper, folded in half, and I put about 8 of those together to make a signature. So, excuse me, so each page would be 8.5 by 5.5. Therefore, my pockets are usually about 5 1/4 wide. And this just has to fit inside, which it will. I know that this is the bottom of the page, so I'm going to use this bottom to, I try to find the way to square it up. And I am literally just taking off a smidge of each side to straighten it up. And then once I have them squared up, they don't have to be perfect or a specific size. I mean, I just like all the edges clear. Then I find, well, you could do this a couple of ways. I have some paper that I had in my stash that I'm not crazy over. This paper. digital. So I copy stained it. And I will use this for the backing of these journal cards. So what I'll do is I'll glue these to the front like this. I don't know if I can get to that. No. So it looks like I'm going to have to do it this way. So I'm just going to put glue. Now I'm going to sew these, so that's why I'm using a glue stick. If you weren't going to sew them, I would probably use Turbo Tacky glue or art glitter glue, because those are really good. They'll hold pretty well. But I'm going to go ahead and sew around these. So I'm just using a glue stick to get them on here. The other thing you can use, but this allows you to use up papers that you otherwise didn't care for. The other thing is, all of these strips that I tear off pages, I save, and I could just as easily have collaged those onto the back of the card and use those up that way as well. I stamp on them. I use them for a lot of different things. So now I've got these glued on, and now I'm just going to take my scissors and I'm going to cut them out, and they are different sizes, so I'm not going to be able to go straight across. Okay. And then I'm going to just trim that out. Now this sheet then becomes a scrap, but you can, again, like if I didn't have anything on the back, I could collage this paper, you know, take it and collage it on the back to make it that way, or I could rip it and use it as front pieces because it's neutral. But anyway, so here's our two cards. The next thing I do is I go ahead and round the corners with my corner rounder. And usually I will have to use my scissors to trim it out because my glue's still pretty wet. But it does most of the cutting for me. Now if you weren't going to sew these are ready to go in your ephemera box to use on whatever journals, in whatever journals you want. You just need to add a focal point to them, dress them up. Like I said, I know a lot of people that make journals make their ephemera ahead of time, and I am still really just a beginner. I've only been making journals for about 1.5 years, 2 years, and I usually make the ephemera as I go. But I like the idea of having ephemera on hand. If you used a better glue than just a glue stick, you could, at this point, you could just put it in your ephemera box ready to be decorated when you use it in a journal. What I do then is I add it to my sewing pile and I will sew it. So I'm going to stop right here for a second. I'm going to go sew these and come back and show you how they look. Okay, I'm back, and I went ahead and sewed around these cards. Sometimes I leave the strings on, sometimes I don't when I sew them. So let me just show you. I also, this one here, I sewed a straight stitch all the way around. So you can see that on the back, and it doesn't have to be fancy. Sometimes I'll go a couple times around, kind of messy, to make it look like it's purposeful. And in this one, I mix a stitch. So I did zigzag here and then straight. And sometimes I'll do, you know, like straight, zigzag, whatever. So that looks like that on the back. So these cards here are ready. Now these I've clipped the threads, and these I have not yet. But let me just give you an idea of how you can dress these. Hold on. I'm doing some pink, this pink journal, so I've got some pink ephemera out here, but let me see if these are too big. To put on there. Yeah, those are probably a little big. I'll find something a little smaller. And those are pretty square, but you don't have to do squares. But so let's say we don't do a square. Let's look at these birds. I'm just going to cut one out so you can see. I'm not going to glue it on. Well, I could glue it on. Let's go ahead and do that. So okay, and then because I'm going to go ahead and use one of these. Because I have rounded the corners, I'm going to go ahead and round the corner of this the same. Let's see what I think of that. I may cut it a little. I think I'm going to cut it a little more right here. It's meant, the digital is meant to look like it's torn paper, but I don't think that that adds anything to this. So we're just going to trim that off, and then we'll redo the corners. Okay, nice. Now what I'm going to do is go ahead and, because it's going in my pink journal, I've got saltwater taffy distress. So I'm going to go ahead and put that pink around there. I have very limited supply, so I just use what I have. Oh, I like that. And so I will go ahead and ink this pink as well. These cards you can use vertically or horizontally, and that's why it doesn't matter what direction you put your pieces, your collage pieces. And in this case, I'm not going to sew this, so I'm going to go ahead and use my art glitter glue for this. I'm going to glue stick and use art glitter glue. Glue stick in the center and maybe just art glitter glue the edges. And that's the end of that one. Okay. I'm just kind of trying to center it a little bit like that. Oh, that looks good. And then I thought, I have these little stamps. And I thought I would no, I don't like that. They're actually kind of for Valentine's Day, and I just picked them out because they were pink. So let me see if there's something that's not all love and stuff. If not, I can find something in my little box here that might fit on there that would look good. I have numbers in that, my own numbers in that I use. Oh, that looks cute, huh? There. Let's see. I might just put that on there by itself. Maybe that. I think that looks good. So I'm just going to ink those up, and that card will be ready to go in my journal. But I'll ink the back of it as well. Did I put my? Yep, I put that away. So let's ink these and get them on. And these numbers, these are available in my Etsy shop. It's just pages of numbers, like mini label type things. And I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to use the Oohoo. I don't think, because it's just paper on paper, I think we can get away with that. Yep. And then the same down here. This one's a little bigger, and it's going to go off the label there, so, or it's going to go off this paper, and on there's some stitching, so I'm going to just put a little art glitter glue on there just to hold it for sure. Okay. Oh, I like it. Okay, so there we go. Let's go ahead and ink the back of this. But see how easy it was to decorate it once you have the actual card done and made. So I challenge you to get your neutral papers and cut them up, ink around the edges, and make some collage cards. You could make some journal tags, anything you want. But this is our finished piece. And that'll go in my journal. And then these are more that I can stick in my ephemera box. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. Like and subscribe. It helps me build my channel. And I hope you enjoyed this and that you'll go do it. I get my inspiration from a lot of other YouTube journal makers. So this, I don't know if this is an original idea. Collaging, I think I got from Gail Augustinelli originally. But I know that Rachel at Roxy Creation collages, various other journal makers. But I do watch their videos a lot. Louise Heinzel makes junk journals, and I love her style. It's a little different than mine. But anyways, if you want to go out and look at their videos, that would be great, because they have been my inspiration, and I hope I'm yours. Have a great day, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye, everybody.